Hello, everyone. Welcome to a bonus episode of Independent Thought. My name is Desmond Price. I have been promising additional bonus episodes for a little while now. I've not pulled one out since, so it's only been a month and a half, but it's been a little bit since we've had a bonus episode. So I thought it was about time that we brought something new back to the fold. Now, my most recent episode, season 3, episode 17, the Seaweed Farms, What You Need to Know. In the second half of that episode, I had a guest by the name of Frank Stylz. He's the host of the 336 Pull-Up podcast. Now, Frank and I ended up having a continuation of our conversation after the episode had officially ended. So that's what I'm bringing you all today, is just the continuation of that episode. So for those who are interested, definitely check out this episode today. Thank you so much. If you're listening to this, I'm assuming you're a subscriber. So thank you for being subscribed. I also want to take a moment to thank all of the patrons that I have, all 31 of you. Thank you so much for helping me throughout this entire process. I have bought some new audio equipment and it will be debuting in my next episode. So keep an eye out for that. And finally, if you are not already, please follow me on Instagram at Independent Thoughts. That is the best way to keep up with my podcast as I post my story daily. So make sure that you follow me on Instagram. Now, just a couple things we're going to be talking about in this episode. We're going to be talking about Kamala Harris. We're going to be talking about Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and our feelings around the media lately. So that is what you'll be in store for this bonus episode. Before we get started, though, I want to say a special thank you to my sponsor, who is Bathing Beauties Beads, a local shop here in Missoula, Montana. If you have a moment, please hit pause on this episode, scroll up into the episode description, and click on her link, which goes to her online store. She is an amazing business owner here in our community, so definitely go and check out her shop. And if you do not live in Missoula, Montana, her shop does ship anywhere in the US, so definitely check her out. Thank you all so much. Now here's the episode.
Hey, Indie Thought listeners. Has this past year helped you rediscover your creative and crafty side? Well, then you're going to love our sponsor for today's episode. Bathing Beauties Beads is a full-service bead shop in the heart of downtown Missoula. Whether it's seed beads, semi-precious stones, vintage beads, or just materials to make a project, they have something for every person and every price range. Not from Missoula? Don't worry. They have an extensive online store and they will ship directly to you. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, they'll welcome you and help you make your next project a reality. You can find them online at Bathing Beauties Beads on Instagram and Facebook, or at bathingbeautiesbeads.com. And don't forget to use offer code INDEPENDENTTHOUGHT at checkout to save 15% on your order.
I should have responded, but she set up a program specifically for obviously people of color, but because those were the ones that were mostly locked up. But she did set up a program that allows them, I think, if like for those smaller charges or I don't know what the legal jargon is for it, but whatever it is, you go through this program. It allows you, I believe, to graduate, and then it also helps. This is the biggest thing. It helps you get. In this program, and it helps get once you pass the program, it helps get your name, your whatever your crime was, expunged. So she's got some programs that are out there. But if you dig into it, you'll see that. And then a lot of times too, when you look at the history and what has happened previously with her, some of those cases, they just see her as the face. Well, right. She was running a group of people. And they're saying in some instances that there's no way that she couldn't have known, like some innocent guy got locked up and they refused to let go of the evidence or something like that. Yeah. I don't know how true that one is. But at the same time, I mean, that's not the first time you've heard of that. That's hell. I just saw some guy the other day that was locked up for 37 years for a crime he didn't commit. and they had the evidence in another state. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
So, you know, I get that, but I guess what I was trying to hit home was, it doesn't matter. We all have a past. We've all made mistakes. We've all done things, but we as Black people can't have it both ways. And in that sense, what I mean is, on one hand, you can't say you want a seat at the table, and then when someone is given the seat, you start talking about the person that's there trying to give us that seat at the table. You know what I mean? Like they did it to Obama. They tried to do it to Kamala Harris. And hopefully what we need to do is just hold them accountable. Now that they're in there, let's see what they're going to do. I'm impressed by, you know, the staff that he's put together so far. But at the end of the day, policy-wise, let's see what's going to happen.
Right. It's a catch-22, you know, on
Yeah.
my end, because on one hand, you appreciate trailblazers, you know, people
Yep.
who are the first, who look like you to be in those positions that we have been chasing for, you know, just for decades now. I mean, for over a century, honestly. But I
Right.
mean, like, on top of that, at the same time, you know, there's also has to be a level of equality there, right? Like,
Right.
you have to be thinking to yourself, you have to be accountable for the things that you did wrong. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the point of power, right? We criticize everyone. So I
Yep.
mean, why wouldn't we criticize you? And
Right.
I think some of the, and I haven't done enough research on this admittedly, but I think some of the things that I had heard coming down on Kamala were just the unnecessary long sentences that she gave to just to drug possession like charges
Mm-hmm.
and to drug trafficking charges, which I feel a little more conservative on trafficking. I mean, I think possessions, I mean, that's just stupid in my opinion, honestly.
Yeah.
Drug
Yeah.
possession charges, I feel like those should just be done away with throughout the country. But you know, the private
Right.
prison industry has to make their money, I guess, right?
Especially in California, right? Especially in California. And when you look at it, when you look at the overall piece of it, it's like, okay, they were extremely long sentences, but again, you know, and this, you know, and I just wanted to say, I wasn't taking it up for Joe Biden on the 94 crime bill. The way that he represented it and the things that he said, he should have corrected that now. So I want to make sure that's clear. So make sure you say that in the sense. But what I'm getting at is the knowledge and understanding. What people don't realize is it was a federal law, but then once it was incentivized to states took on those laws, which allowed them to get paid from the government. And then, you know, obviously now we're really locking people up because now we, you know, in order for us to get that next pay, I'm pretty sure there's some clauses in there. You got to have, you know, a certain amount of group or a certain amount of people locked up or something. So, you know,
it's honestly, I have like a little list on my phone here where I have just topics that I want to address in the future on the podcast.
Yep.
And I gotta tell you, the private prison industry is something that I feel as though needs to have more light shined on it, because
oh yeah, man,
it's disgusting, honestly.
It is a terrible thing. I know you've probably already seen this doc, but if you saw 13th, did you watch that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh man, Des, you want to talk about the private industrial complex as far as prisons go? It's on Netflix. Check it out. It tells you
what's it called again?
13th. You're talking about the 13th Amendment. Yeah, referring to the 13th Amendment. But if you check it out on Netflix, it is a great doc, and it explains to you how it gives you decades over time on how they created the narrative along with stereotypes on blacks that were already out there to put us into prison. It even has tapes of Nixon's campaign manager saying things like, you know, you can't say the N word anymore, right? Because before, back in the day, you used to be able to say, you know, N. You can't do that now. So we have to be able to paint a different type of picture of this person. So when you talk about crime and you don't want crimes being committed, that's those little words when they say, I forgot the words they call them, when you're talking about black people, but you're not saying blacks.
Thugs.
Yeah, you know, well, they didn't say thugs, but they were saying something else.
That's
but
what
those
they do now,
buzzwords that only, you know, you're in the circle, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. They painted that picture. And because Nixon wanted to be the big time, you know, break the law president, it just shows how over the time, the number of colored people locked up increased over the years. It's really, really good, Doc, though. You got to check that out.
No,
Very,
I mean
very
you
popular.
definitely got my interest on it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a history kind of like nerd. So I mean like
Yeah.
whenever you like throw at me like, like history plus, events that are still somehow impacting us today, like
Hmm.
I'm gonna jump all over that.
Yeah, jump on it, man. Because I've even told some of my white associates, I go, if you really want to understand some things, check out this documentary, 13th, and it'll show you from the end of the Civil War through the 1900s, how they were putting us and locking us up for something as simple as loitering and locking us up for years. Because now you can't get slave labor out of me. So what's the other way that I can get labor out of you to rebuild the South?
Slave
Is
labor, just renamed as
yeah,
prison labor.
yeah, just lock you up for doing it, right? And
Right.
that's where it started. But when people started seeing that they can make money off of it, as we start getting into the 1990s and moving forward, it became a huge big business. And it names all these different brands that are involved and how they all meet together to try to. And this is how, when we talk about PAC money and giving money to these politicians, they talk about that. They talk about how they have this huge meeting of these billion-dollar companies, and they come in and they say, well, this is the way we want you to swing, Des. This is what we feel like. And if you do that, I know you just signed a book deal. We're going to go ahead and buy, 150,000 of your books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll do stuff like that. But yeah, it's a great doc. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I've been looking for something to kind of like I don't know, re-energize a little bit, because now that we're kind of transitioning away from Trump, it's going to
Mhm.
be I think it's going to be a little bit harder for me to get as like juiced up, just because the media is just so nice to Democrats in general that it won't be as
Yeah.
easy to find as many negative stories on Joe Biden, which I know they'll be out there, but they just won't be as widely published as all the stuff that we've been getting on Trump for the last 4 years.
Well, think about it, right? We talk about hypocrisy, man. Think about it. What they tried to do was talk about his son, right? His son, what is it, Hunter Biden,
Hunter, yeah.
right? Okay, so Hunter, we know, had a drug problem. If Hunter used his dad's name, to get into wherever, I'm pretty sure Joe knew some things about it.
Probably.
But from my understanding of it, though, the first thing that they were trying to bring up in the Ukraine was, they said that once Joe found out during his vice presidency that something was going on, he demanded that there be an investigation, and they did the investigation from the Ukraine and from the United States, and they found nothing. So now they're bringing this back up, and I'm just like, this is the hypocrisy of the Republican Party. The hypocrisy is, you know what? You're talking about Hunter Biden and what he got paid, and you think all the Trumps, all the sons and the daughter,
No,
they're
yeah.
all getting paid, bro.
No,
All of them.
I touched on that right before the election. I think in one of my closing arguments episodes, I had said that, you know, I concede that, maybe Hunter Biden did get paid like that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, that probably would have been a much bigger deal to me 4 years ago. But after you spend 4 years of kind of like normalizing corruption in the White House, and
Right.
it's really hard for you to come out as the face of that corruption and be like, hey, you can't elect Joe Biden. He's corrupt. I'm like, what have
Right.
you been doing for the last 4 years? We see how much money you've been making off of the Trump name. Ivanka somehow made $80 million in 1 year. Your
Yeah.
sons have like 10 times over their net worths. I mean, you have all these diplomats staying at your hotels when they come to America, so you can funnel off that taxpayer money. I mean, we see what you're doing. Don't talk to me about corruption, man.
Yeah.
But,
And think about it.
yeah.
And think about it. If your dad, right? If your dad had, the second highest position in the world at one point, right?
Yeah.
You know what people are paying for? You know why people are they say, hey, Des, man, we want you to come and run this company. We're going to pay you, $1.2 million under contract for the next 5 years or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
$1 million, $1.2 million a year. And you're like, wow, these people are offering me this job. That's going to be very tempting. But we all know at the end of the day why they want you there. They want you there for access. That's
Yeah, of
all it
course.
is. And I mean, this happens every day, whether it's at the highest level or the lowest level. most people get jobs because of someone that they knew. Hell, my job pays us to bring people in. So there's always some type of, it's a way to incentivize and supposedly get good people in, right? But at the end of the day, it's about access, and everybody does it. So the thing is, it's just, we become so hypocritical in every little thing. We're so sensitive to every little thing that we forget that we have a past. Because what people will tell you is, if they say, hey, well, Des, you did this, this, and this, but I'm not president. You know what I mean? But I'm not this. Well, it doesn't matter. You're still a human being, right? You still did the same thing. And so if someone tried to prevent you from doing something when you're trying to do something for the greater good in your eyes, and someone kept telling you no and kept bringing up your past, how would you feel? And that's the thing that I think people are missing.
No, it's a fair point to make. I know there's definitely an argument to make on both sides of it. I probably could argue on both sides of that if I wanted to. And I think for me, when I was looking at the way Biden handled it, first of all, I wasn't taking it seriously because of what I was saying about Trump. So I was like,
exactly,
those things kind of just like washed for me. But I was like, okay, I admit Biden might be corrupt on this, or his family is at least. But if Trump's corrupt too, as far as I'm concerned, we're getting corruption in the White House. It doesn't really matter. Like, just
that's right.
Cancels out. But I think for Biden, I think he just had a misstep with handling it. I mean, I think the fact that he tried dismissing it like it didn't happen, that was kind of a misstep on his part. But thankfully, it didn't really come back to burn him too much because he still got in the White House. But I mean, trying to like pretend like, oh well, this is a non-story. I won't even take this seriously. It might be Russian disinformation. I'm like, listen. All I'm trying to say is like, Republicans right now are trying to treat like every scandal like somehow Antifa's involved in it. I don't like the idea that Democrats are trying to like treat every scandal of theirs like the Russians are involved in it somehow. It's like the Democrats are using Russia as their boogeyman while the Republicans are using Antifa as their boogeyman. I'm just like, y'all need to stop.
Well, I think that when you look at it wholeheartedly, like I'll give you an example. We talk about media, right? So when you talk about media, on one hand, it's like, okay, people are like, oh, CNN is so this and so that. That very well may be true. But so is Fox, right? So Fox slants its way, CNN slants its way. What I try to do is I try to look at both. But what I really look at, who plays a real neutral piece to it and just delivers the news, that are just like, here it is, take with it what you want, make your own decision, is, the AP. So I'll look at AP News, the Associated Press, because they just roll it out that way. Now, when we look at everything else, like Trump always wanted to call out like these different news outlets, fake news, fake news, fake news. I don't think that it was so much that they were fake. I think that when you try to take on media companies and these news companies and these news networks and you call them fake, you're not doing yourself any favors. You know what I mean? You're not really doing yourself any favors. And at the end of the day, when I look at it, if he would have just done the job, if he would have gave Black people a little bit of something to show, hey, this is more than what you've ever received. You know what I mean? And did the job, you would have had some Black people that voted for him. You know what I mean?
Probably.
I mean, I know there are Black people voted for him, but I mean, he would have had more Black people vote for him. But you can't come out and do the things that he did and say the things that he says, and the good things that he did do gets overshadowed by his sheer stupidity. You can't come out and do those things and then expect the same outcome, so.
It's crazy right now because I feel like if someone was actually like listening to like this particular thing and you actually had white skin instead of Black skin, you would have just been called a Nazi for even uttering the phrase like the good things he did do. I mean, like the culture right now, like from what I'm seeing, like like on my like social media right now, is so toxic towards like you can't even kind of compliment a single thing that any Republican does ever, or else we're going to cancel the hell out of you. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. It's so extreme. I'm just like, I understand that Trump's a bad person, but like I can't go down the line and say that nothing good came from his presidency. I mean, I know he's a bad person. I mean, don't get me wrong, but like every single thing that he did was wrong. I mean, I won't say that.
No, I think that, and this is what people forget. He did I forgot he changed when Kim Kardashian came to him about the prisoner, the people in jail for those crimes that they weren't even associated with, or whatever it was. I can't think of the name of it right now because it was a hot topic a couple of years ago. But him doing what he did, that was a good deed. That was a step in progress. Black folks weren't the only people that benefited from it. There were some white people involved there. So that was a good thing. But his sheer stupidity for wanting attention, that got pushed to the side, and his whatever he did during that time or close to that time got overshadowed by it. I think the tariff thing with China, just speaking to some business people that are out there that deal with China, that, ship all over the world, they said that really did need to happen, because if you look at the way that it was set up, it was like, it wasn't fair. Like, it was like China was getting the benefit of everything and we weren't getting anything. It was like, we won't buy from you, but you got to buy from us. One of those type of deals. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I don't think he handled it correctly.
Yeah, we don't want you to get, like, they don't want their stuff to be taxed when they sell their stuff in our country, but they're going to tax the hell out of us when we sell our stuff in their country.
Exactly. So something needed to be done about that, because we're going to do fair trade, and let's make it fair. And then the only other thing he had to do, if that would have been me and I would have been Trump, I would have been like, I'm going to ride this economy wave. Even though I know it was Obama's, I'm getting credited for it. I'm going to ride that wave. I'm going to do something that's large but very small for the Black community, right? So that they can appreciate me. And I'm going to handle, if this virus came up, if you'd handle the virus a little bit better and showing leadership.
Or just try to do it at all.
Yeah, and showing some leadership, man, he probably would have been in office. You know what I mean? But when
he wouldn't have gotten my vote, but I think he would have gotten a lot more people's votes that way.
Yeah. He wouldn't have got mine either. I'm not voting. My thing is, I'm not voting for a racist. I'm just not. And like I said, when your other person was on, I'm like, dude was a racist way before he was president. But that's a whole other thing. You know what I mean?